This week's video is kind of unscheduled. After every video I make, I receive messages through social media, email, and the website autismatic.com from people wanting to know more or sharing their own experiences. Just goes to show how isolated and misunderstood so many autistic people feel, even today. Few videos have attracted more messages than the one I did a couple of weeks back about alexithymia. So this week I've picked 3 of the most common questions raised to try to clarify whether or not alexithymia plays an important role in these common situations. When I talked about alexithymia before, I concentrated on the communication aspects. About half to 2/3 of autistic people are estimated to be alexithymic, along with around 1 in 10 of non-autistic people. It can affect our ability to describe emotions, including our own, or even our understanding of our personal feelings in the moment. Whilst it's not classed as a disability, it can feel very disabling at times, because it can lead to some very difficult, even destructive situations. Autistic people are famously vilified for being blunt and for oversharing. We're often the ones to express uncomfortable truths others might prefer to hide as shameful secrets. Our honesty gets us into trouble. We say something that makes a non-autistic person feel awkward, and they ask us, "Why did you say that?" And we can't answer. I was asked, is this alexithymia? In my opinion, no, it's not, but it's easy to see why it looks like it. When we're asked, "Why did you say that?" it's often followed by questions like, "Do you hate me or something? Are you trying to embarrass me? Or don't you care about what people think?" Those are clearly emotional questions, but they're actually diverting attention away from the reason behind our honesty. They assume that we're motivated to tell these truths because of deep-seated feelings. If we embarrass someone, they might assume some kind of animosity towards them. Or if we cast ourselves in a less favourable light, they assume self-sabotage or low self-esteem. What they fail to account for is that neurotypical communication is mired in a long list of unspoken rules that determine not only what people do and don't say to each other, but also what assumptions can be made about other people. When someone comes along who simply tells the truth, they chuck a huge spanner into the works. Autistic honesty is not motivated by a desire to undermine anyone. We don't want to mess up anybody else's life, nor do we wish to make trouble for ourselves. Telling the truth often does, though, only because most people don't tell the absolute, complete truth the way many of us do. Their truth is hidden behind omitted information, carefully phrased sentences, flattery, diplomacy, and the desire to be liked. Far too many non-autistic people simply aren't used to absolute candid honesty, so they assume that there must be some emotional motivation behind it. They may take an honest criticism as an insult, an inconvenient truth as treachery, or a sincere compliment as dishonest flattery or even flirting. Alexithymia is an inability to describe or understand emotions. Not being able to describe emotions we don't feel is not alexithymia, though. If honesty is part of your nature, then there doesn't have to be an emotional motivation behind the awkward truth you just told. If you are asked what feeling was behind your candid observation, and you can't answer, that's not an inability to understand or describe your feelings. It's because there are no feelings to describe. You cannot be expected to answer a question to which there is no answer. You didn't tell the truth out of a desire to hurt or embarrass. You did it because truth is important to you, and you thought it was relevant. You cannot be blamed for your inability to lie. Another theme that came up several times was emotions during conflict. Far too many of us find ourselves at a disadvantage when our partners, parents, friends or colleagues are angry with us. In this case, we definitely are talking about alexithymia. The myth that autistic people lack empathy has been definitively debunked, despite some experts clinging onto the idea. What the average person thinks of as empathy is a combination of two different skills. Affective empathy is a blunt instrument. It cannot tell you exactly what a person is feeling, but it can give you a sense of the broader tone of their emotional state. Most of us know that uneasy feeling when a room is unfriendly, or the highs when everyone around is happy. Cognitive empathy, or theory of mind, is shaped by our own cognitive bias. We now know that autistic and non-autistic people are equally capable of cognitive empathy, but our assumptions and predictions about other people's thoughts and behaviours are shaped by quite different minds. A neurotypical mind will assume that other people think similar to them, and simply because they're in the majority, they'll have a decent hit rate. Autistic people will be less accurate, because far fewer people think like we do. Conflict can be incredibly difficult for an alexithymic autist. When things turn sour, affective empathy tells us that the atmosphere has turned negative. We recognise the tense, oppressive atmosphere, but we don't know why. If we shared the same ideas about human nature as a neurotypical person that we're in conflict with, we might recognise the reasons easily. But we don't. We're autistic, and so we judge situations based on our own experiences and thought processes just as they do. This is where alexithymia makes a huge difference. When someone turns nasty, we can find it difficult to put a name or a quantity to their emotions because we're not expecting it. Are they angry or indignant? Maybe they're embarrassed or hurt. Perhaps it's a combination. If our minds were neurotypical like theirs, we might be able to make a reasonably accurate assumption. But as countless soap operas and sitcoms have taught us, even that's not foolproof. The bomb drops when the other party queries our feelings. We've likely gone from oblivious to confused and scared, but we can't say that at the time. All we can say is that we feel bad. We can't describe it more accurately, and we certainly can't quantify it. This infuriates people who are neither autistic nor alexithymic. They want us to fight back so that they can prove their point or win the argument. They have to show us we are wrong, and it has to be done now. We likely can't understand why the conflict has started in the first place, and we need time to think. But the rules of neurotypical engagement don't allow for that. We must stand and fight, or we lose by default. It's no wonder that conflict is one of the main reasons alexithymic autists have for melting down. Finally, there's the subject of alexithymia and therapy or counselling. People are gradually beginning to understand that almost everyone will experience mental illness at least once in their lives. But for autistic people, it's far more likely. Anxiety and depression are so commonplace amongst us that some of us joke about listing them as diagnostic criteria. Plenty of us try prescription antidepressants with varying degrees of success. Some self-medicate. Others try self-help techniques like mindfulness and meditation. And far too many soldier on with no help at all. The other route many of us try is talking therapies, psychotherapy and counselling. But all too often, this turns out to be a dead-end path. Some are lucky enough to find a therapist who not only has the right training, but has a deep understanding of the autistic mind, often because they're autistic themselves. But more often than not, we end up either stopping the sessions because we're getting nowhere, or even told not to come back because we're not cooperating or engaging enough. Part of the problem is that introspection comes naturally to many autistic people. Talking therapies task us to look into ourselves and question our motivations. We're encouraged to ask ourselves if we're approaching things the right way. Are we remembering things accurately, making the right assumptions, or choosing suitable solutions? This can feel like a waste of time for people who've already spent hundreds or thousands of hours lying awake at night asking ourselves these exact questions, rerunning not only the events of the past day, but things that happened to us years ago. Alexithymia is the other major factor. The therapist brings up a past event or invents a hypothetical and asks us how it makes us feel. Sometimes we'll be able to tell them in detail because we've worked it out on one of those sleepless nights, but on others we can't answer. When faced with novel situations, an alexithymic person may not be able to tell them how it makes them feel. They may not be able to find the right words or even know for sure how they feel at all. I've been in this position myself, along with a number of other people I've spoken to over the last couple of weeks. We try our best, but our best just doesn't cut the mustard. If we say we don't know, we're not trying hard enough. If we say the closest we can think of, like happy, sad, good or bad, then we're told to dig deeper. If we just tell them what we think they want to hear, we get caught out and berated for not taking the therapy seriously enough. Whether we get tired of it, or the therapist tells us to take a hike, it ends up being a waste of our time and money, and all because we can't identify our feelings to the therapist's satisfaction. Finding a therapist or a counsellor who can help a troubled autistic mind is always a difficult process, and alexithymia is a big part of why it's such a daunting task. There's many ways in which alexithymia can impact on our lives, of which these are just 3. There are other questions I've been asked, and depending on feedback, I may do another video like this one to answer more of them. But for now, thank you for watching. Making videos like these takes a lot of time and investment in equipment and software. You can help make it happen by buying autistic merch like this below, or you can support us on Patreon, like the good people listed over here. You'll find links for both the Patreon and Autismatic merch in the video description and on autismatic.com. You can also subscribe on this link here, or go straight to another Autismatic video on one of these.